Keeping all fun checks, reconcile differences. Keeping all fun checks, reconcile differences. Keeping all fun checks, reconcile.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Truth Reveal podcast, where we host conversations that relate, reveal truth, and that ultimately lead to reconciliation. I am your host today, Holly Harris, and I am joined by my co-host, Shanita Street
Hey, good people.
and Latricia Peak.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, it's been a minute since we have adorned this here camera and had a conversation. I think the last conversation we had was about 3 months ago.
Oh,
Yeah, with the gospel music
yes.
one. So it was had been so long I had to look it up. I said, Lord help us, Jesus. We've been busy in these here streets.
Bless his soul.
So we do apologize, but we are here nonetheless for another great conversation, one that I feel is timely, is relevant, and hopefully it'll spark conversation in your own life and around your dinner tables as this will drop the day after Thanksgiving. So hopefully this will start conversation and move to a better place after you have heard us discuss this subject. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. A few weeks before suggesting this topic, or after suggesting this topic, I came across a article. I believe it was on Facebook. It was Black Enterprise, and they were talking about anti-blackness, and there were people in the comments. There was a various some interesting comments. I'm gonna just say that were from that varied from people who agreed with what the article was saying versus others who uh, were like, okay, you know, some of the events that they mentioned in the article, they're like, okay, how can you correlate that to this? You know, almost like, okay, this may be in black people's minds. Like it's a figment of your imagination, in other words. So it's definitely something that we wanted to talk about and tackle. And when I talk about or say anti-blackness, I'm talking about the denial of black culture and the denial of black as a race. Right.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to kind of dig into today. And there are several um, events that have taken place that I feel like have kind of pushed us towards this environment that we currently find ourselves in. Of course, you know, when it comes to black culture, when it comes to blackness, we have forever been, dare I say, the target, you know, for some, when it comes to whether it be in the media, you know, our images in the media, there has been, you know, negative connotation when it comes to blackness, when it comes to the black race. But here in recent years, there has been this push, this undercurrent, if you will, towards the denial of race in general. And I feel like there have been, as I stated earlier, several things that have kind of led to this recent push. The first being, of course, the removal of DEI and other diversity programs, and that insinuation that black people were the ones who benefited the most from this program, which, if you do your research, we find that we were the last on the list. Okay, every other race was above us. But, you know, somehow we were the ones, the poster children for receiving the benefits of this program. And you know, the mentioning of that those who did have those roles were somehow not qualified because of their race. And so that was one of the first things that I kind of saw when it came to this push towards what we now see. Then, of course, we saw the removal of truth when it came to history, and books were being removed, and pictures were being removed from the internet to kind of paint this picture as it relates to history. Anything that was negative as it relates to one group of people was removed to kind of create more of a rosy sensibilities around the nation, because the argument was that people were beginning to hate the US. And so, in order to bring them back to a place of pride for America, there was this sense that there needed to be a rewriting of history. And so we saw this happen, the removal of books and history. And then we saw this rise in Black conservatism, right? We saw, many Black people who, historically we are more of a conservative people, but had begin voting more on the Democratic side. And so there had been this push to move Black people out of the Democratic Party more so into the Republican Party. And so it gave birth to this Black conservatism and many Black people joining, the MAGA movement. And so there was just this push towards, unifying in that direction, right? So if you guys want to chime in, I'm kind of going through a few things here that kind of led to, but if you have anything you want to input, you feel free to add to it. But then, of course, with the death of Charlie Kirk, we saw a lot of this, these negative things that came up as it related to Black culture, even though it was really interesting because the person who killed Charlie was not Black, but somehow there was this undercurrent that started as it related to hate towards Black people that I saw online, not from every direction, but there were certain individuals online who were kind of pushing this narrative forward. And we all know that Charlie Kirk was someone who was very vocal when it came to his opinions on the Black plight and our issues within our community. And so this kind of sparked this undercurrent where more began to jump on that bandwagon and, and criticize the issues within our community. And so, with this, we also begin to see this lumping, this absolute language being used, like all Black people. And this is not new to us. We have, for centuries, if one of us mess up, all of us mess up. In essence, we have been ones who have felt the brunt of the responsibility for our entire race when it comes to our behavior, and seeing those things play out all across the board within our communities. Okay, and so then we saw this rise, right, within the content creation, kind of what happened after Charlie Kirk passed. A lot of people begin to take on that same mantle and begin to rise up and discuss the issues within our community. And I saw many Black content creators jump on the bandwagon and begin to give their opinions and begin to criticize along with, those who have been criticized in the community. And so there was a rise within that. Then we saw with the rise of AI, we saw all of these videos that begin to target Black people in some way. We saw the ICE video that targeted, these Black kids who were, I think they had shot a music video or something, and they took that video and used it for their own benefit. ICE to kind of say, in the video, it was basically portraying these Black kids saying ICE, we're coming for you, or something to that effect. And so they used it as a video to say, try if you dare, kind of this, sort of thing, making us seem as being the ones who were being agitators towards them. Then I just recently saw Black women being used in these EPT videos, like with the benefits being taken away. There was like this video where there were like a slew of black women who had a whole bunch of kids. It was all AI generated, and they were talking about, oh, y'all supposed to take care of us. And it was really a crazy video, but it was generated by AI to make it look as though we are the main ones who are using EBT benefits. Right. And so then you see this shift of churches kind of partnering with these ideologies and encouraging people to abandon talks of race. And so it's like this, because of the issues surrounding race, because of the things that have occurred as a result of all of this upheaval, there has been this push towards a total abandonment of race. And even, I've seen a lot of black preachers who have come out to say, basically, black people to kind of abandon that part of themselves, to stop mentioning race, to begin to, and even if they're in a place to where they want to celebrate their culture, want to celebrate their heritage, they are somehow idolizing blackness. And so I mentioned all of that to say, just to kind of show the wave of how all of this stuff begins to unfold, almost like an avalanche, to where it just compounded one on top of the other, to where we're kind of in this place to where it's like this denial of race as a whole. And so, I wanted to kind of get you guys to chime in here. Did you see anything else that, stuck out to you that kind of played into where we currently find ourselves?
I think you did a very good job, Holly, of kind of giving us a good overview and breakdown. But I would say, I don't think you specifically mentioned it, but you did
Mhm.
mention it, being that the last time we had our conversation, we were speaking about music. I think it has also infiltrated music. There's this
Yeah.
undercurrent of CCM versus gospel. One
Yep.
is better
Yep.
than the other. So there were, and we kind of talked about that 3 months ago. Um, which I think is just a preference, not so much
Hmm.
better than, but how a lot of churches, and I've seen that on some podcasts, there have been conversations about predominantly Black churches that primarily sing more contemporary Christian as opposed to gospel centered songs. And by gospel centered songs, I'm just meaning songs that are written by Black artists. So I think I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's a push for anti-Blackness, but I do think it plays a little bit into the conversation.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with that.
I would agree on the music side. I think that's where I've seen the majority of the division.
Hmm.
So, more so lately. I will say I did see the video with the young men who were hijacked. Their voices were
Exactly.
hijacked. So,
Yeah.
That video was hijacked.
yeah, so I did see that, and I did see the interview of the young man who was front and center,
Hmm.
and it just caught him off guard. He wasn't
Hmm.
anticipating it. That wasn't his initial, that wasn't his plan to have been a victim of AI. And I will say that one of the things I wanted to mention was it's been coming out, well, not coming out. I mean, I think we've known it. We just tend to forget it. A lot of what is produced or pushed on the internet, on social media, doesn't usually come from our own within our own country. Of course, there are places or people within our country who do push an agenda or try
Hmm.
to hijack people's voice. However,
Hmm.
much of what we have seen when it comes to the AI side of things is actually being initiated from people outside of the country. The
Hmm.
problem is whenever you are online and if you don't do your background checks, you don't do your work and your footwork, or you're not aware, you're kind of clueless to the internet or
Hmm.
social media, you just take that as being word and solid information because
Hmm.
they do it so
Exactly.
well that it appears real.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But looking closely after a while, if you have been paying attention, you can tell when things are AI for the most
Yeah.
part. I mean, it's
It's
pretty
getting
close.
better, but yeah.
It is. It's
But
getting very good.
yeah.
So we can imagine what things will look like in 5 to 10 years if
Hmm.
it's this good now. But for the untrained eye or for people that kind of glance at things and just have no clue, they do take it as Bible or
Yeah.
truth, which is unfortunate because
Hmm.
it just further feeds into the divisiveness
Exactly.
of what people are setting out to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's so true because I think when it comes to proximity, people who don't spend time with people of other cultures, like all they have to go off of is what they
Yeah.
see on the internet, what they see on
Right.
TV, what they see in this AI video. And like you say, they take it as truth and thinking that, for instance, all black people are a certain way when we're not a monolith. It's like it's different types of black people. They're rich black people, they're, middle class. We don't all live in the ghetto, or this thought process that we're all one way, or we all committing crime, or we all targeting this or that or the third. It can only be believed by those who don't spend time with us. And so I think, like you said, that's an important point to point out that, if you stay in proximity, then you won't be fooled. So,
Right.
but when you separate yourself, when that's when you can be fooled and it can cause further division. So yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same premise. I know this is scripture. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, but it's the same
Hmm.
same idea and concept.
Yeah.
If you think about how we've been fed, this again is something that I saw recently on social media. We've been fed this idea or this notion that Africa is poor
We were just
every
talking about that. Me and Sweet. Yep. Yeah.
and that is not
It's
true.
not true. Yeah.
There's, wealth in Africa. There are
Hmm.
people who are living civilized, productive lives. There are beautiful
Exactly.
buildings in Africa. Everybody's not starving. It's
Yeah.
it's been pushed out for so long, especially when they used to do the videos where
Honey,
you
with the
feed the
swollen
kid.
bellies and flies.
Right. And
Girl.
so
That's
if you don't know any better, now more people are traveling to Africa. We
exactly.
have more people
Yeah.
coming from Africa who live here.
Hmm.
So I think every most people's eyes, I don't say everybody,
Hmm.
a lot of people's eyes are open now to what the truth is. And the truth
Exactly.
is we've been lied to.
Yep.
Word of mouth.
It's been
Exactly.
ugly. Very ugly.
Exactly. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know, well, I mean, it's kind of slightly off the beaten path, but, just kind of speaking of closed mindedness, I know it was this comedian. I can't remember his name. I think his first name is Gary. He is funny, but he makes fun of all the like racial tension and relations and what have you. And he was showing a video that Mr. Musk's dad was saying, basically the interviewer was asking him, he was saying that within the next 40 years that white people are going to become the minority. And his dad, Elon Musk's dad, was like, that would be unfortunate. Do you want to go back to the jungle? Do you not like technology? Do you not? And he doesn't realize that black people pioneered portions of technology, that black people pioneered inventions and patents and all of this kind of stuff that they were not given credit for because they weren't able to get patents and different things of that nature, and that we are responsible for a lot of the production and the forward movement of society. But if you don't read, if you don't understand history, if you don't, you're gonna assume that only one group of people contributed to the success of America. And so that's just kind of like just another example of someone, because they're not in proximity, they're clueless, they're ignorant of what actually is. So yeah.
Reading is
It
fundamental.
is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So yeah, but yeah, so what would you say, like, because like when going back to that, I mean, I guess this kind of speaks to what we were talking about as far as the ignorance and not being in proximity. Um because like I said, in some of those re, responses, there were some who were overwhelmingly say, "Oh, this isn't true," just because they removed, critical race theory or whatever books, were removed. Because they were removed, that doesn't mean that it's anti-black and yada yada yada. You're too sensitive, or this, that, or the third. It's all in your head as it relates to. Because I think there is a portion of society that thinks that this is good, that this push away from um individualized cultures and basically becoming one culture, having one mind and thought process is a good thing. What would you say to someone who believes like that, who believes that maybe what we're thinking is all in our head, what we're seeing is all in our head, and it's a push towards society actually being better with the elimination of race? If it makes sense, the question that I'm asking.
Yeah, for sure. I think it goes in line with the whole one human race
Mm-hmm.
idea or notion. However, where I believe that can create some problems for us is it, in a sense, is establishing robots instead of humans.
Mm-hmm.
And it is removing the ability or the ability to be an individual.
Yeah.
And individuals make up culture.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could ever get to the point where we are not seeing the differences, the diversity, the variation in cultures, if we could get beyond seeing that it's a negative,
Mm-hmm.
I think we would make some progress. But the problem we constantly face is always coming from the viewpoint of acknowledging a culture that is different than yours is bad. And it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not bad, it's different. That's
Mm-hmm.
like saying you marry somebody who is exactly like you. Most people don't marry people that are exactly like them. You bring different
Yeah.
things to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn to appreciate and value those differences, typically people have healthier relationships. And I think
Yeah.
it's the same idea and concept when it comes to diversity of culture.
Mm-hmm.
When you can learn to mesh your cultures, and when I say mesh, I don't mean eliminate cultures.
Yeah.
When you can learn to recognize another's culture, it builds respect, it builds
Mm-hmm.
honor, it grows our minds, and it helps us to have a healthier community. I think that gives us the opportunity to learn to demonstrate the love of Christ, one, if we're bringing it back around to the Bible, because even with disciples, Christ didn't have everybody that was the same
Mm-hmm.
with the
Exactly.
disciples. So why do we expect that everybody else in this world, this big old world, is
Mm-hmm.
going to be the same? I think that's a great stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think those who desire to have one culture, if they're completely and 100% honest, it's the easy road. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
it's the notion that if we have one culture, that there won't be division. And there will be, because we're not all the
Exactly.
same. And
Yeah.
so we have different thought processes, different ways, different experiences. You can have one culture and have many different facets in
Mm-hmm.
that culture. So it's not going to go away. I
Yeah.
think that's, dare I say, a little bit of ludicrous thinking to think that the issue is that we have race.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
think
agree.
about along
Mm-hmm.
the lines of what Sweet is saying. the culture of Christianity. How many denominations are within
Come
Christianity?
on. There you go. Perfect
Too many to
example.
count. It's
Exactly.
because everybody has an individual perspective. We process
Hmm.
things different. We
Yeah.
have different beliefs. We have different life experiences. And all of those things make up who we are.
Yeah.
So uh, I just think it's really not realistic
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
think that everybody is going to think the same, function the same, be the same, and we
Yeah.
ain't gonna never look the same.
Exactly.
It's just not gonna happen. So it's unrealistic.
Yeah. You're right. I think too, like the agenda within that piece is that, people are easier to control when they think like you, right? Because when you don't have differencing opinions, then it's easier to control people. It's easier to, um, for one group to stay in power to, because when there is no difference of opinion, then you hold all the cards. You hold, and you don't take anybody else's thoughts or concerns into consideration. You're able to control everything. So I think it definitely is a control piece to that for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That makes me think, Holly, about parenting. Immediately, this made me think about parenting. If you
Hmm.
are a parent, like I have multiple kids,
Hmm.
and if I ever took the approach of, I want everybody to, like a drill sergeant, I want everybody to do exactly as I say, which of course you want your children to remain obedient and respectful and all of those things.
Yeah.
However, I believe one of the areas that helps us to grow as parents is having a little challenge. I have a child who
Come
asks
on.
questions.
Yeah.
And when you have uniformity
Hmm.
in the sense of control, you
Hmm.
don't allow anybody to question your motives, question your actions. It becomes dictatorship in a sense because
Yeah.
somebody's got to lead the pack.
Exactly.
So who leads the pack
Come
if
on.
we're that uniform? So I think
Yeah.
we have to look at it from the perspectives of what is the goal
Hmm.
by getting everyone to look the same. Yes, I
Exactly.
do believe when it comes to the word of God, we could do a lot better on
Hmm.
speaking the same thing because the Bible does talk about oneness and unity
Yeah.
and being of the same mind and you
Hmm.
know all of those things. So I'm not talking about it from a spiritual perspective. I'm just thinking about
Mm.
culture in general and individuality. I have locks. Everybody up here has different hair. So what do we go to the same hairstyle because you don't like the way my hair
Yeah.
looks?
Hmm.
How
Yeah.
far does it go? How far are we going to
Exactly.
stretch this?
Yeah. I agree. That's good. That's good.
Hmm.
But yeah, so because that was um I was trying to think. I just lost my train of thought just that quick. Oh yeah, there was this video I saw. It was of this Mexican guy. He was talking to this black girl, and he was talking about like the relations between Latinos and blacks and how historically they haven't cared too fond of us, but he was talking about how many of them, as well as not just them but others, have said black people, we complain too much. But then he began to, within his speech, begin to appreciate the fact that we do speak up, that we gonna tell the truth until somebody listen, because had it not been for us, they wouldn't have some of the rights that they do. So he was like, a lot of people say that, oh, you complain, or even with this, what I'm saying here, like it's all in your head. That's just something else for y'all to complain about. Ain't nobody studying y'all. It ain't no denial of blackness, this, that, or the third. So it's looked at as another thing that we're complaining about, but it's truth. We're speaking up. And I think that that's one thing about us that is special, is that we speak up. And I think that's also the thing that gets us in trouble, the thing that makes others hate us, is because we do speak up. So like we were going back to that whole thing, not being uniform, being, ones who are able to bring the challenge, who's able, to speak up. And, like you said, it causes us to grow. It causes us to think. It causes us to, us ultimately move forward together, so yeah. But I
And
just
what
want
are
to
we fearing?
exactly. Yeah.
What is there to fear? Is
Mm-hmm.
it losing power? Is it losing control? Is it
Yeah.
lack of exposure? Is it lack of education
Mm-hmm.
on someone that is different than you?
Yeah.
I think people just, I hate to say love to fear, but
Mm-hmm.
fear just grips people and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know
Yeah.
what to do with something that is different. They don't know how to handle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. From a young age in the cafeteria, we're sitting with people that are like us,
Mm-hmm.
typically.
Yeah.
And then you may have a table where there's a mixture of people who don't necessarily fit in,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of grows with you as you get older. But
Mm-hmm.
as you mature and you learn to appreciate the differences. And
Yeah.
so you can still celebrate your culture while appreciating someone else's. That
Exactly.
is the maturity in the growth from
Mm-hmm.
when we were
Mm-hmm.
kids versus now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you naturally acclimate to what is familiar when you're a kid. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. It could be the kids who make the straight A's, the kids who play football, the kids who play basketball, the kids who
Mm-hmm.
play tennis, the kids who have rich parents,
Yeah.
the kids who are in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
People acclimate to what is familiar to them. That is
Yeah.
culture in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a culture within a culture. There are subcultures.
Yeah.
But as we get older, I want to hope, which we
Mm-hmm.
know is not true, that people become mature enough to make decisions that celebrate
Mm-hmm.
instead of um, ridicule or
Yeah.
all the things that we see right now
Mm-hmm.
on social media.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Sweet. Any thoughts?
No, no, you
Okay.
guys are killing it. Good stuff.
Okay. Okay. Well, I wanted to just kind of just going back to that part about sameness. I wanted to pull out because I know I was watching this live with Eric Mason. He was talking about denouncing fraternities, but then he kind of switched into talking about culture and how we as Christians have the ability to sanctify culture, and and not all culture is bad, because going back to that whole piece as far as denial of blackness, and even hearing from some people who look like us saying, if you're celebrating this, you're idolizing blackness or whatnot. So he was basically talking about that there's no need to throw out the baby with the bathwater, if you will. And he mentioned this book by Charles Kraft, and he was talking about in the book, he talks about how, when white missionaries went and evangelized in Africa, they thought that in order for them to be saved, that they must be civilized, right? And he was saying so that there was this push to destroy their culture, to basically insinuate that they must be like them in order to be saved, right? And that they didn't in fact need their culture. And so that's kind of the undercurrent of this whole thing that we see even now, that in order to be saved, we must be civilized. And it kind of goes back to the whole being clean before you present yourself to Christ type, think this works mentality. And feeling as though, like, going back to the whole culture piece, that that we need to throw it all away, because of course we know that there are things in culture that it's not all good, you know, especially that is pushed on the Black community and some of the music and all of the things. We understand all of that, but also understanding and appreciating the good things that come with culture that cause us to relate as people. So I just thought it was good that, you know, that live that he did and him mentioning that, because it kind of allows you to go into the mindset of what some people think when they have this ideology that you gotta be like me in
Yeah.
order for there to be, you know, for you to be truly saved, or in order for there to be true unity, you have to be like me. So, you know.
That makes me think about, like, I remember, of course, being a church girl. I gotta bring something up about church, but I remember thinking or questioning people who had nose rings and tattoos
Yep.
because we were told
I did the
those are
same
sin.
thing. Yeah.
And if you can't possibly love Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
God forbid you put a hole through your nose that hardly nobody can see, or
Mm-hmm.
you get tattoos. So I wanted a tattoo so bad. I was like, well, why don't I just get a
Yeah.
ring or a Bible? I never did.
Yeah.
But I just think that is, even within the church, it's the same thing. You can't
Mm-hmm.
possibly, like, to what you were saying, you can't possibly be saved if you have tattoos. And then I
Yeah.
started going to a church where it was like everybody
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
had tattoos and people had piercings, and
Yep.
there were all kind of things going on. When I
Mm.
saw um, someone in leadership wearing like a spaghetti strap, I was like, "Oh Lord, everybody going to hell." At first,
Not a spaghetti strap.
a spaghetti strap, and I was like, "It's just a
Saved and
tank top,
sanctified.
right?"
Yeah.
And I had to start asking myself, where is this thinking coming from?
Mm.
And why do I feel like I'm better because I wear a t-shirt?
Mm. Come
Or why
on.
Mhm.
do I think I'm better because I don't have a nose ring and I
Yeah.
don't have tattoos? Am I pure?
Mm-hmm.
Because by then I had already lost my virginity and I won't marry. So so what we doing?
Yeah, my
What we
lord.
doing?
Mm-hmm.
I just think we pick and choose
Yeah. Yeah.
what we want to be right.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
true.
generally when we pick and choose what we want to be right, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're right.
So there's a standard, but that standard is not based off of where we are in the moment. Standard
Mm-hmm.
remains the same,
Yeah.
period. The word of God remains the same, period. Like, God is not changing his word because you're new to a thing
Mm-hmm.
or you're older in Christ. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
grace and those type things, but he's still the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
us that
Yeah.
change. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we ultimately try to make things fit, make it more suitable for us,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
It's just human nature. So I think that's what's happening is within the culture, people feel like they know what is right.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's true. Yeah. That's so
And that's how
true.
they're judging people.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
What I wanted to mention something, because I know I was reading the Word of God where it talks about, you know, when they had their experience when they came together in the upper room and they
Mhm.
all came together, you know, everybody had they were, you know, from had different tongues, and they began
Mhm.
to speak in each other's languages. And I just thought it was so beautiful, you know, because it's like God didn't have them speak in one language, like he had them speak in each other's
Yeah. Yeah.
languages. So I just think it's beautiful, like when we come together, when we understand the beauty of different cultures, and that we can be different and we can still speak each other's language if we're willing to sit with each other, if we're willing willing to understand, if we're willing to come and to reason together instead of trying to create a carbon copy, or the opposite of that, to create division. There is a way to be different, but to have sameness, at the same time. So I just thought that I wanted to mention that story because I just thought it was a beautiful display of how people came together that were different, but they were able to merge, that they were
Yeah.
able to come together and speak each other's language. And that's the
Yeah.
language of grace. That's,
Yeah.
yeah,
We,
that's the language of
we,
grace.
I will say something about that. We had a situation, not a situation, but I do go to a multicultural church. I would say it's different cultures there. And as a part of our like worship service, we always have like a time of corporate prayer, and it's usually a member or one of the leaders that will lead the church in prayer after scripture, and kind of like a responsive reading type of situation. And one of my Spanish brothers was tasked with prayer for Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And, when he came up, he said, "Let us pray," in
Mm-hmm.
English. And then it was like, "Rook a little bit." He started speaking in Spanish.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, my Spanish is very rusty, so I only picked up Jesus and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But the Spirit of God was
Mm-hmm.
so felt in the atmosphere, like it literally shifted. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like the exact what you're saying. I mean, we have Spanish speaking people there, so obviously they knew what he was saying, but the majority did not. But the spirit in which the prayer was rendered
Mm-hmm.
was so heartfelt and sincere
Yeah.
that it just erupted praise in the
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere. And I thought, this is what scripture is talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's that is the oneness. He
Yeah.
Absolutely.
didn't have he's bilingual,
Mm-hmm.
but him praying in his native tongue probably was more impactful than him having said the prayer in English.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Imagine if like God said, okay, there are many members, but I want y'all to all do the same thing.
Come
yeah,
on.
That's not what he
Wouldn't work.
said.
Yeah.
It's many members, and
Mm-hmm.
we all do different things.
different
You may
things.
be a
Yeah.
finger, I may be a toe, you may be an elbow, but each part serves a purpose. And the
Mm-hmm.
purpose is focusing on Christ, leading to Christ, guiding to
Yeah.
Christ, discipleships, salvation. Those are our ultimate goals within the body with one head, who is
Mm-hmm.
Christ. But
Yeah.
he didn't say, I want everybody to do the same thing, to be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mhm.
not the way he's designed us as the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And so I think we do ourselves a disservice when we say, now that doesn't mean we don't, like, again, we don't speak the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe there should be unity in the
Yeah.
voice, many voices, but one God,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So I just believe that we do ourselves a disservice as believers when we limit or reduce who God is. And
Yeah.
ultimately, I feel like that's a little bit of that's happening when we try to
Mm-hmm.
do those things. And I get some people are just like, well, we're all sisters and brothers, and I get it. Or
Mm-hmm.
some people may say, I don't see race, which personally I don't like
It's a
that,
lie.
because
It's a
I
lie that you
want you to
say that.
see my race in a
Right.
positive light, not
Exactly.
just as something against me,
Yeah.
but something that is different and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate it. That's
Yeah.
it. Um, yeah, so I just think that when we, yeah, you are to love your sisters and brothers. I get it. And
Mm-hmm.
sing Kumbaya, whatever you're gonna sing. Um,
Yeah.
but it's
Right.
okay to appreciate somebody's differences.
Exactly.
We may cook differently,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
You may like Italian seasoning. I may like paprika. it just it's just what it is. It's the
Yeah,
colorfulness of God's creation, and I don't like
exactly. It's beautiful.
minimizing who He is. That's just how
Hmm.
big He is to me.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think to me, like to the whole point of the conversation, a lot of the anti-blackness to me personally has come from black people.
That's
I
true.
mean, I've even, I've had to
Well
check
put on.
myself with some of the things that I've said, and then I went back and said, do I really believe that?
Hmm.
Like I'm a Christian first before,
That's true. Yeah.
I'm a Christian and then I'm black. Well, nobody knows I'm a believer when they first meet me. They see a black woman.
Exactly.
They don't
Hmm.
find out what my faith basis is until after they've engaged with me. And
Yeah.
then the bigger question is, why do I feel the need to even say I'm a Christian first and then I'm a black woman?
Yeah.
I think they're all going to say I'm a black woman that's a Christian. Like it's either way,
Yeah.
all of those are on the same level because they're very much so a part of who I am.
Yeah, and no other race is doing that. You see, ain't nobody
Yeah,
else saying
the
I'm a
Jewish
Christian
man, the
before
woman
I'm.
is not saying I'm
It's
Jewish.
yeah, they're not doing that. It's us for some reason that feel like we have to deny ourselves in order to, I don't know, it's acclimate to fit in. I'm not sure what it is, but I've heard a lot of that rhetoric too. It's just like, where is this coming from? That whole, and I think like going back to a lot of the events that I talked about, I think in this that there's just this desire for, of course, everybody to want to be accepted. And sometimes we're willing to sacrifice more to be accepted than anybody else, from what I can see. It's
Mhm.
like, and so it's like, well, when you think about what God created and how he created us, our race has a big part to do with that. It has, it's inserted into our calling. It's inserted into
Yeah.
even how we worship God. There's a culture that comes with that, and what we present to him based off of our experience, because it's directly tied to our race and what we went through. And so I think all of it is beautiful, and God uses all of it in order for to be glorified, in order to push his agenda forward. He uses every person in every race. It's all a part of our calling. So I think that there should be an appreciation for that, and it's not you idolizing being black because you appreciate what God has done, where you're from, and he, because he uses all of that. He's an efficient God, and he uses all of that for his glory. So, yeah.
I
I
saw a
have
video. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a video. I'm laughing because it was funny, but it ties totally into what you were saying. And it was black people from California, according to the video. I don't know if you guys seen this on Instagram. And they had went to the Holy Land. They had went to Jerusalem. I don't know what took place on the bus in their travels. But they said they were singing and the Spirit of God fell. And the video was showing one of the brothers looked like he was out. Like they was trying to help him get out of his seat and get him
Hey,
off the bus. And you
he
can
got
hear the
swayed.
commentary of the person taking the video. And there was a rabbi right there. And the rabbi was like, well, what is happening? Has the Holy Ghost seized him? And the
Mm,
black guy was like, yeah, he's been arrested. And he was like, huh, I've
mm.
never seen this before, but this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I laughed at it, but I can appreciate that the beauty of the experience that he was having. Like this is
Yeah.
not something that I'm common that I've seen this outward expression, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still beautiful. And I can
Yeah.
appreciate that even though it's not something that I particularly experienced because part, like you said, part of what makes if race was not something and culture were not something that we were supposed to be, then Christ would not have created
Exactly.
race and culture. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the other thing that ties in too with race and culture, that's kind of not varying, but a little bit, is our Caucasian brothers and sisters have to understand that they too have a culture.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about that. They
Hmm.
have a culture as
They do.
well.
Yeah.
My cousin says, I like to hike. Y'all know I like the great outdoors and stuff.
Hmm.
And she attributes that to white people stuff. You be
Mm.
out there walking in the woods with like the
I
white
like the hype.
people. Yeah, and I said, well, I don't think it's a white or black thing to go walk
Yeah.
in the woods, but
Hmm.
I understand the context that, I seen a meme just the other day that was like how white people spend their Saturday. And it was somebody
Hmm.
like out in the woods looking at the trees. And then it was like a black person at a house party dancing.
Hmm.
Those obviously are like too far extremes, but those are
Yeah.
things that within the culture, when I'm went hiking, it's probably I primarily run into my
Hmm.
Caucasian brothers and sisters on the trails. It's
Yeah.
not good or bad or indifferent, but it
Hmm.
also shows that is a part
Yeah.
of their culture. And
Hmm.
I think when you don't feel like you, and this
Hmm.
isn't a blanket statement because everyone may
Yeah.
not feel like that, but I do feel like for those who are pushing, you know, I don't see race, that type of rhetoric. When you yourself don't identify and haven't identified that you yourself have a culture,
Hmm.
it makes it seem it probably is easier to deny than everybody else does as well.
That's true. That's a
So
good
I have
point.
two things. So one, I have heard people outside of the black race addressing I'm a Christian first, but I don't know
Hmm.
if that was in response to what some blacks were saying to
Hmm.
make them
Hmm.
feel as though they were doing something wrong by celebrating their blackness. I don't know. So I don't know
Hmm.
what the motive was. Not
Yeah.
many people, but I
Yeah.
have heard it, especially
Hmm.
like on social media and things like that. I'm a Christian first and blah, blah, blah. If you don't feel like you have a culture, then you probably won't push that or appreciate that
Hmm.
unless you have an awareness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the first thing. But sweet, when you were talking about hiking, that made me think about Gail and Oprah when they went camping for the first time. Now
Lord
they didn't go
Jesus.
fully camping; they,
They was
glamping. They had an
glamping.
Hmm.
they had a nice RV. But I remember, and this is years ago. I don't even know. I don't know if I was in college at the time or if I was in middle school, high school, but I was young. But
Hmm.
one of the things that I remember is them specifically walking through the national parks looking for black people. And when they came
Woo!
across a black person,
I
they said,
can't.
"Oh, there's a black person. Look, there's a black person."
Ah!
And I think one
Help.
was a ranger.
Hmm.
And they were so happy because culturally, you normally would not in the past,
Hmm.
Hmm.
find us doing hiking
Yeah.
or going mountain climbing or, things like that. Back in the day, you wouldn't see us renting houses in the mountains because we were like, there's too many bears out there. I'm not playing. I don't play with the wilderness. But
Hmm.
now you see those things. So,
Yeah.
yes, white people do have a culture. And I'm not saying, hey, that's y'all culture, that's it,
Hmm.
whatever. But I think those are things we have to learn to celebrate. Yes, there have been
Exactly.
black people in the mountains or hiking forever, but
Hmm.
not a great majority of the race. It wasn't something that was common for
Hmm.
us, whether it
Hmm.
was because of where we lived, what we had access to, our exposure,
Yeah.
just like swimming.
Hmm.
Swimming
Yeah. In
back
the
in the day,
beginning,
it
that's
was
true.
uncommon for black people to know how to
That's
swim.
one.
Hmm.
That is why you see workshops in predominantly black communities now teaching kids how
That's
to
one.
swim who are black.
Yeah.
Because one, they may not have had a pool in their backyard.
Exactly.
Two, they may not have had a pool in their community at all. And so if they went, it might have been, at the beach or the lake and they just stood in the first 2 feet because they didn't know how to
Hmm.
swim, but you
Right.
Yeah.
appreciated the water.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
now we are starting to see more people engaging in spaces that we normally would not because
Hmm.
we are learning to appreciate things
Exactly.
that we did not have access to, exposure
Yeah.
to, or just didn't have the education on.
Yeah.
You think this is sidebar? You think
Mm.
black people outside of what you just listed with the swimming thing, do you think black people have like a no? But I'm just gonna be a
Go
little
ahead, say
bit
it.
of a conspiracy theorist and say it could be like some generational trauma with the water in black people
I
too.
knew where you
Oh
going.
yeah.
Like stuff that because there have been studies that have talked about not necessarily the water situation,
Mm-hmm.
but just the generational trauma of slavery and how there are things that have
Yeah.
generationally passed down that sometimes it's subconscious that you're not even aware of. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny too because I saw First Lady Michelle, she's doing this series, and it's I forgot what it's called, but she was talking about braids, and she was
Mm.
like, "Y'all don't understand what that does for me when I can just wake up and go." She was like,
Yeah.
"Y'all don't understand what water does to a black woman's hair that is not in braids, and we gotta work through this
Mm-hmm.
thing." And she was saying, "It's not what you think it is. It is such a
Yeah.
convenience
Yeah.
outside
It's
of."
not us hating our hair
Yeah,
necessarily.
it's
You
an
know. Yeah.
expression. And she
Exactly.
was like, we're trying to have straight hair to fit a mold and a
Mm-hmm.
standard. But she was saying how when she went into law after she graduated, when she used to wear braids, she said she emphatically knew, no one told her, she knew she could not go into the law firm with the braids.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so it's like those are little nuanced things, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like things that black women all over have had to do to quote unquote fit the cultural narrative.
Yeah.
Even, like with locks and stuff for black men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes beards is a whole thing in corporate for men.
Yeah.
Like those type of stereotypes where
Mm-hmm.
you're having to deny
Exactly. Yeah.
aspects. I know there was some things that happened some years ago where a little black boy, I'm saying little black boy, he's a teenager, his wrestling coach made him cut his locks off. And,
Yeah.
like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's all these things that
They are.
kind of perpetuate that anti-blackness
It
without being
does.
overt.
It was the
Exactly.
same thing in news.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started in journalism, a lot of people would use fictitious names because they sounded too black.
Oh,
Or
wow.
Mm.
people would also not wear braids.
Yeah.
Now you see people unveiling their micro
Mm-hmm.
locks and sister locks, and I see mohawks
Yep.
and
Come on.
cornrows, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm amazed because
Mm-hmm.
some people may not recognize that stuff, but I do because I remember, and I posted about this recently. I had a doobie wrap. Why? Because you tried it wasn't straight bone
Mm-hmm.
straight, but it still was what other people may consider a clean look. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't find me with braids or cornrows, or
Mm-hmm.
definitely wouldn't find me with locks. But
Yeah.
those were considered unclean looks. They
Exactly.
weren't quote unquote sleek or
Mm-hmm.
crisp and
Yeah.
or professional.
Yeah,
Braids used to be
professional.
It's
identified as
true.
not being professional.
Exactly.
Even Oprah commented about that. I was watching something where there was like a series, I think her and Tracy Ellis Ross were doing about hair.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And she commented about how in her media days in the beginning, she went to somebody told her to go see this person, and they basically gave her a perm, and all her hair fell out because they over
Yeah.
processed it because they were trying to get it straight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or you
Um,
think about singers back in the day. If your
Mm-hmm.
nose was too wide, Patti
Yep.
LaBelle or some of the
yeah,
other artists, a lot of women went and got surgery because they didn't look the part.
Mm-hmm.
aesthetically, and honey, not even
Right.
back in
Exactly.
the day, it's still
Man, come on. Come on.
happening
Yeah.
in different ways to this
Yeah.
Yeah,
day.
or
Yeah.
lightening your skin to,
Right.
Yep.
yeah, you've seen like a lot of, if you look at some of them artists like back when they was they childhood picture and what they look like now, it's like, wait a
Two
minute, the
different people.
skin is completely different. It's
Yeah.
like
You
So
don't even know who
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
that goes on in Africa too, the bleaching of the skin. It's
Oh
just this
yeah.
Yeah.
it's across the board, and it's because of the things that we've experienced historically, generationally, and it just is playing out even the more. It's just people are more vocal on the other side about the ways, you know, about how they feel about us and different things like that. But you know, actually back then, like, yeah, they was overt then, but then it kind of went under the surface. Now it's back above the surface as it relates to that.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think
so go ahead. I'm sorry,
no, I
I'm
was just
rambling.
saying I think there's been a resurgence, and I
Yeah.
can only
Mm-hmm.
speak about black hair. I'll speak about that
Yeah.
specifically, especially as a black woman. I
Mm-hmm.
remember 20 plus years ago when I decided to cut my hair and grow locks. There weren't even natural hair stylists, which was a
Mm-hmm.
big portion of why I decided to get locks because I cut the perm out, and I didn't know how to manage it because I had never had to maintain my hair in its natural curl pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So literally that was like an element of frustration, like what do I do? Like it took time to do my hair. My mother used to pick at me and was like, "You went natural, and it take you forever to do something to your hair." And it was like it was true because
Mm-hmm.
it was like, "Oh my God, how am I gonna get it straight? How am I
Yeah.
gonna wear it?" So I got tired of wearing the Afro puff. I was like, "I'm tired of this." But one of the reasons why I decided to let my hair lock up is because I was like, there weren't any stylists that could help me maintain it in that state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 20 plus years later, it seems like everywhere it is rare to find black women who still use perms.
You
There are
right. I
some
don't see
still
a
out
lot of
there,
them. Yeah, that's
but a
true.
lot of them have embraced their natural
Mm-hmm.
hair. They've gotten rid of, using chemical straighteners and things like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's just a resurgence of affirming this is beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've
Exactly.
redefined for ourselves what beauty
What
actually
beauty
is,
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're
And
included.
mm-hmm.
So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
there's a celebration and appreciation of how our noses look, how our lips look,
Yeah.
the difference
The
in,
standards too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We
Yeah.
all, you go to Africa, you don't see the same thing that you see in the American commercialized
It's
picture
so
of
true.
image of what a
Mm-hmm.
woman is.
Yeah.
That's not the norm.
It's
Most
so
women in
true.
Africa, not that you can't, but most women in Africa, everybody looks different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think there's beauty in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny that you should say that, Shanita, because that was one of the things that stood out to me when I don't know if it stood out to you, Holly, but when we went to Kenya on that mission trip last year,
mm-hmm.
I remember the day we went to like the little market, the mall, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember just looking at the advertisements
Mm-hmm.
and seeing like it was so strange, like even to be driving down the highway and the billboards, black people. And they had
Yeah.
they did have like Caucasian people as well, but
Yeah.
everything was predominantly
Mm-hmm.
black. And
Yeah.
it was like black with afros, black with
Mm-hmm.
braids, black
Yeah.
like black light, black dark, like
Mm-hmm.
like it was just an array
Yeah.
of blackness being represented in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, wow. But
Mm-hmm.
it was the same, like even going to the market and going to the stores when everybody was black. The
Yeah.
waiters are black, the servers are black, the cooks are black. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was that was culture shockish for me
Mm-hmm.
being in that environment and seeing so many black people. Because
Yeah.
like here in the States, we have like chocolate cities. When I go to Baltimore, I consider Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
like where my family's at, I consider Baltimore like a chocolate city. You see a lot of us there,
Yeah.
but it was even more. And it just was like, I thought about how their standards of beauty must be so different than ours because they've always been exposed to their own culture in surplus.
Yeah, but
And let me
surprisingly,
correct
they
myself.
deal with the same colorism issues
They
there.
do.
Like when I
They
was
do.
talking about them
They do.
lightening their skin and
Yeah.
different things, it's strange because I think because there was some colonization there as
Colonization, yeah,
well. So it's
right.
like that whole they got the same thing going on. But go ahead, Shanita.
I was just going to say, let me correct myself. You will see some of the same things that you see here in
Hmm.
Africa because everybody in Africa is not darker complexion.
Yeah.
Right.
What I was referring to was more so the shapeliness. It was
Yeah.
considered
Hmm.
negative to be, or
Yeah.
you're fat, or, that's too much. You need to lose weight. And
Hmm.
now, even
Everybody
in the
trying to get
US, people
BBL.
getting all kinds of surgery to get some little thickness on them. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Mm.
I was referring to more so
And
the
the
weight.
strange thing is the one they think that started the trend got a BBL herself,
Who?
Kardashian.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
one that
oh,
they thought, oh, I want a butt like hers. It's not natural, so it's crazy.
yeah,
But anywho, but yeah, so but I think, like you said, just the beauty of culture. And I think too, like when we're going back to the, black people at one point not wanting to swim or hike, and now we're hiking, we're doing all the things. I think it's just the beauty of us immersing ourselves in different
Yeah.
things and different cultures. And I
yeah.
remember watching this guy on Facebook. I can't remember his last name, but it starts out with the first name is Jolly. He's a ginger, and he's a
Hmm.
white man. Well, no, we found out the gingers are black, didn't we? Didn't
I don't know if that was real.
you don't know if it was real? Okay, but anyway, but he's a ginger. But he was talking about, he was in a Mexican bar, and the people, they basically had saw a lot of his posts, and they invited him there, and he was eating, having a Mexican beer, and he started crying. He was in tears. He was like, I can't see how people can't look at this and not see the beauty in it. And he was just in tears, like, because he posts a lot about the racial backlashes and different things that are going on, whether it be black, whether it be with ICE, snatching up the Latinos. And he was just in there just bawling, like, how are we like this? Why don't we appreciate other people's cultures? And I was like, those are my sentiments exactly, because there are some of us who are willing to immerse ourselves in other people's cultures, and then there's just some of us who are just not willing. And those who are not willing keep that closed mind and keep that narrative, pushing negative
Yeah.
narratives forward, because they're not willing to extend themselves. But yeah, it's but it's like you missing out when you the one missing out at the end of the day.
Tremendously.
you
Tremendously.
know
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah. But yeah, I think we have kind of come to the end of this conversation, unless there are any other thoughts or concerns that are to be expressed. So I guess at
All
this
hearts
point
and
we can
minds clear.
go ahead. I'm sorry. All
I said
hearts and
all
minds.
hearts and minds clear.
Our hearts and
Yeah.
minds are clear.
So I guess we can have final thoughts, if there's anything that you wanted to add or kind of leave with listeners as it relates to embracing culture. I guess is would be the question. Like I guess helping that person maybe who's having a hard time identifying with those who are different from them. Um, how they can, I guess, begin to break down those walls so that they can to embrace different
Hmm.
cultures.
Hmm.
So whoever wants to start.
I would I would just encourage people to examine themselves and
Mm,
consider what this world would be like if we had billions of people who were just like you.
come on,
Would
it would be
we
crazy.
maintain creativity?
Yeah,
Would you say,
I
Holly?
said it would be crazy, but go ahead.
You know, um, would would we represent God well
mm,
and in the manner
come on.
that He wants us to by
Hmm.
limiting His hand?
Yeah.
Are we trying to play God by
Mm,
reducing His creation? And
Mm.
so I would
That's
encourage you
good.
to just evaluate yourself.
Mm-hmm. Come
Very
on.
good.
Very good. Sweet.
So yeah, I would say echo what Shanita has said, do some
Mm-hmm.
self-evaluation, examine your own heart.
Yeah.
But then I will also say, for specifically for those believers who may have some different thought processes as it pertains to other cultures and just diversity as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
I would say be intentional about trying to build relationship
Yeah.
with someone who does not look like you, who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
maybe even think like you. Um, because I think it goes back to what Shanita said. There is beauty in diversity. And if it were not so, then himself, God himself, would not have created diversity, every
Mm-hmm.
nation and every tribe. He, as the creator, could have made us a monolith, but
Exactly.
he didn't. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when we appreciate the diversity of everyone, we appreciate the creation of Jesus Christ and
Amen.
God.
That's good. I ditto that, the self examination, the being intentional and stretching yourself, moving outside of your comfort zone. And I would just, also just remember, your creator is diverse. Like, he is Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nisi. There are different facets. And as we grow in God, we experience different sides of him. Why would he not make a people that's also different, that presents different sides, that comes with different perspectives? And so just appreciating our creator causes us to be able to appreciate those around us. So it starts with that relationship with him first. And once we have that relationship with him, then we can love our neighbor as we love ourselves. We can be intentional and stretch ourselves, because diversity is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, it's the spice of life. How boring is your life if you only associate with those who are like you? Like, come
Hmm.
on now.
Yeah.
Get out, see the world, experience, love on people, because that's
Yeah.
that's what the God created us for. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but this has been another episode of the Truth Revealed podcast. Thank you for hanging out with us as we have discussed a very heavy topic, but hopefully one that brought insight, one that brought encouragement, one that brought maybe a different perspective for you to consider, and hopefully one that will spark growth in your own life. So definitely go and like us wherever we are. We're on every podcast. Well, we're on every platform. Wherever you get your podcast, you'll
Where you
find
find
us.
it.
We,
Yeah.
of course, are on YouTube. So hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Definitely, if you enjoyed this conversation and you want other people to hear it, share it with somebody, right? We have good conversation here. We would love for you to support us in all that we do. What else? We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We'll have everything in the show notes. Again, thank you for hanging out with us. God bless us. Until next time, peace.
And happy belated
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, because this is going to drop on Friday. So, all right.
Okay.
Oh
Peace.
yes.
Oh, yeah, the Friday after Thanksgiving. All right.
Yeah. Don't eat too much turkey.
Exactly. Yeah, and have good conversation.
Yes.
Reconcile different